That's a real old reference.
Good morning.
Hey.
Welcome to Criminal Justice Insider. I'm Babz Rawls-Ivy.
And I'm Jeff Grant.
Good morning, Jeff Grant. How are you?
Hey, Babz. How you doing?
I'm good. It's raining in Connecticut.
Yeah, it's raining. Wait, at least we didn't have snow today.
Well,
That's a
thank
good
the
thing.
Lord we're not out west.
Yeah.
So I think today we have probably one of the most handsomest guests we've ever had.
Most handsomest.
Top
I like
12.
that. Yeah. You get two superlatives in there in once.
Down the resume.
Dieter Tejada,
Yeah.
who is a justice-impacted criminal justice advocate and expert.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
So don't be fooled by his age. He is a graduate of law school
Mm-hmm.
I'm older than I look.
and is working on taking the bar in Connecticut. Hi.
Hey.
Good morning.
Hi.
Well, let's do some house cleaning. How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing good. Oh wait, we got to thank our sponsor.
Oh yes, this show is happily made possible by the Community Foundation of Greater New Haven.
Now more than ever.
And hello to our personal supporters.
Andrew Kaplan and Lynn
Lynn
Springer,
Springer.
who are out there. Oh, I got some news.
What?
How about this? Lynn, if you're listening out there, don't turn red, but Lynn has Lynn is the newest yoga instructor at Valley Spirit Wellness Center in Washington, Connecticut, and she's going to be teaching Flow into Spring yoga on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons at 4:30.
Nice.
So nice. So I'll be there at least a couple of times to
So
show
if you're
people.
all up in those part of the woods,
I'll show people what not to do.
get over there and see
And,
Miss Lynn.
Yeah, we definitely want to invite our good friend Larice Harvey up, who's been practicing yoga
How
with
is
Lynn.
she?
She's doing great.
Tell her I said hello.
Yeah. Maybe she's listening in, but she's been doing some yoga with us, so that's nice.
Okay,
That's nice.
I'd appreciate that. And just one other thing.
Yeah.
So I was at Andrew's house last night and I
Mhm.
saw the plant. What is it? The
The
amaryllis.
The amaryllis.
his has bloomed again.
Yeah. He texted me
And
and told me.
it's massive. I was like, mine died. I didn't even know it was supposed to rebloom.
Yeah, I see. If you make Lynn's amaryllis list, you know you're good.
Yeah.
You're good for the
Well,
year.
I made the list.
I know you
but
made the
his amaryllis is like thriving.
Well, does he he waters it? Maybe.
I don't know. Andrew is magic, so
Yeah, something.
everything he does is magic.
Yeah,
so.
for sure.
So anyway, today's show we are talking to Dieter Tejada, justice impacted criminal justice advocate. His expertise in the field of criminal justice is partially based on traditional legal training and education he received while attending Vanderbilt University School of Law. And I'm not going to read all of this,
Well,
but I'm going to get to the part where you were arrested and took a plea.
Mm-hmm.
And did you go to jail?
I did. I went to jail and then I went to prison. I was 19 at the time. I was 17 when I was arrested.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very special time in the state's legal history because there's a lot of facts that are like irrelevant, but basically I was charged as an adult, although I was a juvenile at the time. So
Mhm.
I got to go to adult jail and then I went to kid prison. And served 4.5 months.
Mhm.
I wrote a letter to the warden of MYI, and he granted me early release because my full sentence was 9 months or 5 years suspended after 9 months, 16 months house arrest, a number of other 200 hours service, 5 years probation. Anyways, that all happened a long time ago.
Long time ago.
But it definitely informs who you are now and the work that you're doing.
Absolutely.
Sure.
It must, I mean, was that the catalyst for law school?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a catalyst for most everything in my life. You know, it was a very difficult thing. It was something that I didn't expect ever growing up.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Norwalk.
Oh, really?
Born and
So you
raised.
are a Connecticut kid.
Yeah. Wait, remind me, is New Haven 203?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I was about to go like shout out 203. But 860 is like what, 2 towns up?
See, when you're Dieter's age, you have all kinds of those things going on social media. 203.
Hashtag. I'm too old for that. We were just talking about this. I'm not that. I'm not the social media savvy one.
Yeah.
I've seen your social media game. Yes, you are. All right. So this thing happened to you. You get arrested as a kid. You go to adult prison. You do some time. You get out, and then what happens to you?
So, my plan when I first found out that I was going to prison was I'm gonna die.
Because you're 17.
Yeah, I was 17. When I went in, I was 19.
Okay.
So like my case dragged on, and then I pled. And I actually had just finished my first year of college, and that first year was hell.
And where did you go?
I went to UConn.
Okay.
So I had gotten into college, luckily, beforehand. So like a lot of my story too has to do with a lot of luck, and because of this luck, and because of like the privilege that I've had, I'm here, and I have a duty to use my experience. So that experience when I went into jail, this is where it all started. Like when I knew that I was gonna die going in, and then when I got there and I didn't, and then when I got there feeling bad for myself, and I started to look around and see that there were a whole bunch of other people
with real
similar or worse.
Yes.
Usually worse. And I started realizing, one, that my life doesn't have to be over, despite what I had been told, despite what I had believed. And two, this thing might be good. And over the past 11 years, I found out that experience, as traumatic as it might have been at the time, and as many barriers and hardships that having a felony record has presented in my life, it's also the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, get closer into the mic. You can
pull it to you.
Yeah, pull it to you. You're getting close.
I'm not good with the mic.
Yeah.
All right.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's right.
Is it good?
And then put it down so that we can see your beautiful face. There you go.
We're good. All right. So Dieter, did you go directly from court to Bridgeport Correctional, or how'd that happen?
So,
he's a BCC grad. So
yeah, BCC grad. Shout out. And I actually went back in right after I graduated law school. It was a great story. So I'm a graduate of the old blocks.
Yeah.
The kids there don't know. Yeah. They don't exist. But I did go not directly. When I pled, I didn't know I was going in that day. But I got pulled down to the cells initially.
Yeah.
And it's parents crying, but there's a funny part a little bit where I was like 115 pounds, and terrified, And I remember going down there, and the guard had me, in the shackles, and was gonna put me into the cell, and the guy was like, "Don't put him in here. Don't put that white boy in here," and terrified me. But when I got in there, this hulking guy, and then I had like my hands, because I was like, oh, I don't know, I'm gonna like die with my hands up at least. And he just started laughing, and he said, I'm just messing with you, man. Now there were curse words involved in there, but I know we're on air live, so I'm holding it at. Anyways, he ended up being one of my best friends, and got me into working out, got me bigger, and that's what I found, a lot of humanity in there. A lot of humanity. What had terrified me, and the idea of becoming a felon was horrible to me. But now I realize, like, this is what I identify as. and that's a lot of what I came here to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I'm justice impacted.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I identify. You know, I'm biracial,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm Dominican and German, and growing up, I just didn't have an identity.
Yeah.
And before I got into jail, I didn't have an identity. But going into jail and going through that experience gave me identity.
Mm.
Wow.
And now that's why I do what I do.
That's heavy.
You know?
That's pretty powerful.
So how much time did you spend in BCC? Well, they moved you over to MYI, right, Manson?
Yeah. So I spent like 3.5 months approximately in BCC. It was started off in the medical wing, memorial, and luckily I got put right there with the OGs immediately because they were all, you know, that's where the sick inmates are, and
Tell everyone what OG means.
OG defined, usually with a period in between. It is just an older gentleman.
Old guys.
Old guys.
Yeah. I'm an OG.
Yeah.
I know,
You're an
man.
OG to the game.
Oh, what's that you called me on social media? What's my new hip hop name?
Rev JG Styles.
Yeah,
Oh,
I saw that. I saw it.
Yeah.
I was like, what is going on here?
Dieter gave me that name.
Yeah. Are you adopting it?
Well, look,
you consent to it.
When my platter drops, yeah.
Right.
All right, so you find yourself at Manson for how long?
So Manson, I was only there for around a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I wrote the warden, despite what the counselor said at the time, because he laughed at me when I said I was going to apply for early release. But I wrote a letter to the warden, and explaining what I wanted to do when I got out, and asking for if he would grant me the chance to do that, get early release, and he did.
Mm-hmm.
And
so he gave you administrative release.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I was on parole for a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and then I didn't get to go back to college. I had to take a semester off.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, went to college and worked. There's a whole story along the way, but yeah.
So you go back to UConn?
I did. I went to, so I was at stores though for my first year. When I got out of jail though, I had to take that semester off, and I went back the second semester, and it was I spent about a couple days there before I realized that like my probation officer, because of my like house arrest thing, it just wasn't gonna work. So I moved back down here and went to UConn Stanford.
Okay.
And graduated there.
So where are your parents in all of this?
My parents, so my parents are both guidance counselors. Worked in Norwalk school system for a long time. My dad's an immigrant. They were like me when this all started, very ignorant. Very, very ignorant to the system. But I mean, and that's the thing about justice impact experience. The family members, and as anyone knows that's been to jail, like it affects, it permeates. And the ripples of it go way beyond the defendant or the inmate. We all touch people's lives. So my parents, their lives were touched immensely, and that was one of the hardest parts about it for me.
Are you an only child, or you have siblings?
I have a younger brother.
Okay.
And that was hard on him too. Very hard.
Yeah. So, how did you decide to go to law school? Vanderbilt, right?
Yeah. Well, I didn't always decide to go to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
I decided to go to law school when I was locked up. And part of it was personal, but part of it, and what I've come to find now, is that really it all stems from that this kinship, this identity that I have now as a justice impacted individual. Like I view every person who's gone through this, every time when I went back into Bridgeport Correctional Center like 11 years later, I felt at home. Earlier this week, I was sitting down with Jeff Deskovich, former guest, and a Rodney Roberts, and he's going to be at the event.
Yeah.
And a number of other people, and we were just talking about the experience, and then we were just immediately. I hadn't met some of these people until that day, but I felt at home.
Yeah.
So I just knew that I know that like I learned a lot from being in there, and I knew that like I guess one of the main things was this thought that just kept on popping into my head while I was in there. I was like, I just saw all the lawyers, and I realized I was like, they don't know what they're doing, do they? Like they can't make an informed decision. They have never been in here. Most of them have never stepped into a prison. Most of them, when the case ends, as far as they're concerned, the case ends. Whenever they're out of whenever they're done making an appearance.
On to the next.
Yeah, and they don't know the full extent of how it impacts someone's life. They've never worn like shackles that go over your wrists, a belly belt down here, things around the ankles. Yeah, they don't even know what an ice cream truck is. They just think of ice cream. They don't know people go in ice cream trucks too. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. So is that so some of that experience what drives you to want it to be an attorney?
That's and
to help a particular population, because I mean there's all kinds of law you could practice.
Yeah, so I didn't get in when I was inspired to become a lawyer inside. I wasn't like I want to be a wills and estates attorney. Yeah.
Which, listen, I'm not knocking that.
No, I actually find it very fascinating now. I find all facets of the law fascinating now. But at the time, it was very much geared towards the criminal justice system. Yeah. I felt that that's where I could make my biggest impact, and that's where I could affect change for my family. Because my identity, I realized, and this was a huge thing for me in law school, that I sort of, and along my journey, that like there's been times when I've forgotten who I am, or I've forgotten that this is a shared experience where I felt alone. But and that's why I love like being in the room with people that are justice, because I feel at home.
Yeah, but Vanderbilt's maybe a top 10 law school. So how'd you pull that off?
It's top 15.
Top 15, sorry.
But it's number one in my heart. So
okay.
how I pulled it off was I worked when I got out.
But you had to tell them what your background was.
I did.
Right?
I did, and it did not help me in that application process.
So talk a little bit about, do you feel comfortable talking about the crime itself, or what landed you? What was the catalyst for all of this? Are you comfortable talking about that?
To an extent, I just don't think it's not like really all that relevant right now. I will at some point have a whole story. There's just so much there.
Yeah.
But it revolved around a fight.
Okay.
In high school.
Because I'm getting to this because we have young people who could be hearing this, and
so for the young people out there,
and could say to them, listen, you could turn your life upside down by doing this.
Yeah, so you can turn your life upside down very easily.
And
you might not even have to do anything criminal.
In a second.
In a second.
Yeah.
Jeff because I'm having this conversation with my youngest son, who is on the precipice of trying to go to jail.
Well, he will succeed because we lock up juveniles in this country.
I think he is doing his level best. And
if he needs to scare straight, I'll come there.
I don't know what will scare him straight. His mama going to prison has not scared him straight. So I just feel like young people have this disconnect between the reality of things and who they are. And so I was just wondering, when you were a young man, you could not have imagined that these particular actions would have caused you.
We didn't. Well, first of all, I'm still immature, or maybe like, sometimes you have a traumatic event and it's at a certain age, they say, and like you stay at that age. I don't know. Anyways, the point is, I still very much like remember the mindset that I had as a kid. And in my case, the surrounding events were based on me being, one, an undiagnosed alcoholic, and 2, an idiot who got into a very stupid situation. And being not an idiot, I was just a kid who didn't think about the long-term effects, and I was also just ignorant.
Kids don't think about the long. They don't.
Absolutely not. It's about the weekend. If you ground a kid for 1 weekend, they're like, my life's over. No, it's gonna be okay. You ground me now, I'll watch Netflix. Yeah. But like that's not the way that I thought at the time.
Right.
You know?
That's a good point. Right.
Well, what year was this?
This was 2008. Yeah, graduated 08. Graduation t-shirts was 08, so great. And yeah, I was 17, buck 15. Thought I knew everything. That's the other problem. They think they know everything. No, but like this has been a big part of my journey too, is that like I know having that like experience of going into like both adult jail and into a kid's prison, and then also like having this happen to me at that age. I love kids. One of the first things I did when I got out was I went back to my old high school. I had to do probation anyways, but I ended up doing way more hours than were necessary because I ended up forming a mentoring program with my old guidance counselor. Phenomenal man, Dan Sullivan, Dr. Dan Sullivan. He wasn't a doctor at the time, but he let me come in there and meet with at-risk youths and just tell them about that this could happen to them.
Wow.
This could happen to them, and that they need to be very careful, very careful, especially, and I'm sure you've had this conversation with your son, especially if you're a minority, especially.
Oh, listen. We've had the conversation, but he's
just keep having it, because eventually
he is hell bent.
Well,
eventually, you know.
Well, have you been into the True unit yet at Cheshire, the new young adult unit they have there? They just celebrated the 2nd anniversary a couple of days ago, and so there was a ceremony in there. So I was fortunate enough to go to be invited. But I think we had Rollin Cook here last, and my guess is that he and his staff would love to have you come in and tour it.
I would love that. Then the love is mutual. I was literally going to reach out. I met this Yale students go in there and mentor and teach. So I was going to go. I forget what the name of the program is. But I was going to try and finagle my way into this because I just know that it would be incredibly good for me. See, I want to help, but I only help. I'm not helping because I'm a good guy. I help because it makes me feel good. Because like it's very selfish. Like I know, but also like I know that I can provide service. I know that I can provide value.
Well, you're
to
a 12-step guy, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, there's another bond we have, and Dieter and I also know each other, Babz, because he's been a volunteer at Family Reentry, and so we knew each other there for a couple of years, and then Dieter got me involved in medication-assisted treatment legislation, opioid treatment in prison legislation, and so we did. We both testified last year up at the legislature.
Yeah, so I testified this year too. And
did you?
The good thing is, this time I was just testifying in support of the budget that
right.
Was presented. It's $6 million is already going. I think another $2 million on something else, and I got involved in that through we were working with the Yale Law Policy Advocacy.
Yeah.
Shout out Pauline Siernick. Shout out Patrick Hulen. They're great, phenomenal.
Yeah, and but it was at appropriations this year, not in committee. It was it was appropriations committee.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I saw Tony Walker the other day, and she was very, very high on the legislation.
Yeah,
she's one of the chairs of the appropriation committee.
Yeah,
So
it works.
talk a little bit about some of the programs that you've been working on, because from here to New York, you've been working on various programs, mentoring, supporting law students and at-risk students, and talk a little bit about some of that experience.
So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I got involved in doing that immediately when I got out, and along the path, it's just I do what I do because I like it, because it benefits me, because it feels good, and what I found is that there's so many ways to make an impact, and also part of the reason why I have so many varying experiences is that, you know, there's been also, I went to law school, so I've had to move around a bit, and then also as anyone knows, once you're a felon, your life changes. Nothing is easy at that point. Everything becomes a lot harder. You have to, like, the front door does not exist anymore. You got to go to the back, and guess what? It's not going to work either. You're probably going to have to go through a window or create your own door, you know? So that's how I've been living. I hustle. I hustle. I hustle. I'm going to hustle until the day I die for the people that I identify with.
So,
so a couple of the options, or you want to? I did not answer your question. I apologize.
don't do that to Babz. Don't do that to Babz. She'll hand you something.
I'm coming back round.
Yeah. So I will do that now. Apologize. So one of the things, and one of the main things that I'm very excited to talk about today, is I got involved in right when I was getting out of jail. Out of law school. They're same thing.
Same thing.
No, I mean, I learned just as much at one. When I got out, I found out, and this is part of my. I'm going to have to backtrack for a second. In law school, I got away from my experience.
Yeah,
I got away from it. I had to, like, hide.
Yeah,
I decided to hide.
You didn't want to be the prison guy.
Yeah, it's more complicated than that. There was, like, a letter sent within the first week, like, talking about how I'm going to kill everybody there or whatever. It was. I know who sent it.
Oh, someone.
But it was anonymous.
Someone sent that letter.
Yeah.
No, that's terrible.
Yeah. Anyways, that coupled with a lot of other things, no excuses, play like a champion. But I got away from it, and you know, part of that's good, because when I got out, since I've been out of law school, I found out I felt so alone. That was my main issue. All of law school, I felt so alone, because I didn't know, when I decided to go to law school, there was no path. I didn't know that there was anyone else out there that had ever done it.
Yeah.
But now I realize there are. There's not that many of us, but I'm in a Facebook group with like 65.
Wow.
And on April 3rd, I'm hosting an event where there's 16 justice impacted lawyers and legal professionals. Jeff knows about it.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about talk about that event a little bit more.
So the event is the Justice Impact Roundtable. It's at NYU, hosted by NYU Law Student Group. That's the group that I talk in circles sometimes.
You're doing great.
That's the group that I got involved with right after law school.
Okay.
So they're the Prison Reform and Education Project, aka PrEP. Shout out PrEP. These are some of the best individuals I've met.
Well, shout out to Maddie. Go ahead.
Shout out Matt. Oh yeah. Shout out Maddie, aka Madeline Schoen. Shout out Grace Lee. Shout out Lucy Kissel. Shout out Tori Wenger. Shout out to the whole crew, because these are some of, if you want to look at the top 10 or the most impactful attorneys 20 years from now. Those names are going to be there. Just go check out the prep list. It's all-star list.
And were they involved in the scholarship?
So yeah, so earlier this year we launched, and I've been involved in them collaborated with them on a number of projects. One of them was launching the first ever scholarship that is for directly impacted, justice impact formerly incarcerated individuals. It's also for their family members. So like people that have this justice impact experience that decide to go to law school because of it. And guess what? There's a shared experience within the small group that we have of lawyers that have been formerly incarcerated. Every single one of them didn't just coincidentally decide to go to law school. Their experience guided them there, which is part of the reason why it's a little bit troubling that as of now, the legal field tends to provide barriers and tends to treat the experience.
Well, we just had a big case here in Connecticut with Mr. Bettis.
Bettis.
Yeah,
Mr. Betts.
Dwayne.
And he's won the right to ascend to the bar.
Yeah, Dwayne got in a little over a year ago, and it was I followed that closely, and luckily since then I've been able to speak to him, and he's been giving me guidance because I'm going through the Connecticut bar right now. I passed the July exam, but I there's the character and fitness. In Connecticut, the one thing is that throughout the country, there's a lot of it's not uniform.
So the character and fitness part is the one where people sort of say, or they decide whether or not your fitness to practice law, that you are of good standing and goodwill, and
yes.
And so, how do you pass that? Like, what needs to happen?
In my particular case, or in general?
It would generally, but specific to you.
Okay, so in general, there is no guideline.
Oh,
there's no. Each state has a separate way of dealing with it. I see. When I got out of law school, I actually had a job down in Orlando, but I found out right when I was about to go down that I was not going to be able to even go before the bar to take the bar for at least 2 years after speaking to an attorney down there. That's Florida. And then there's and now in Connecticut, there's been different barriers. And one of the people that's coming to the event, Tara Simmons, her story, she so in Washington State, they actually make you do the character and fitness part before you take the
exam, bar,
which actually to me makes more sense.
It does make sense.
It does.
They should do it before law school.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think they should sort of scrap it.
Yeah, scrap it.
And actually just enforce. Sean Hopwood, who's one of the. Unfortunately, Sean can't make the event, but if you don't know Sean Hopwood, check out the 60 Minutes. Check him out. Check out his book, Lawman. He's an incredible. He's one of the first formerly incarcerated attorneys that I learned of. He got in 2013, I believe, is when he graduated law school. And his story, you know, he went through. He's probably the best. He's the most successful Supreme Court advocate in that, like, his first Supreme Court amicus or brief was heard, and then he won it, and he wrote it on a typewriter in prison. Sean, I forget.
You're talking about your experience with this part of the bar exam.
Oh yeah, so
yeah, and just so you know that
so Sean Sean suggested, the reason why I brought up Sean is that Sean is writing a paper, and I don't want to butcher his thing, but I'm going to try and basically he suggests that, and I agree with this, that like if we're going to do this in the future, character and fit, what we should do instead, because the field has a lot of issues. There's a lot of really not great lawyers out there. And and the problem is that once you're through the bar, once you're on the other side of it, it's not really enforced, the rules, not very well. So why not start enforcing the actual rules on the other side instead of like creating this barrier in advance? I mean, especially to me, there's an irony into the fact that like in Connecticut, there's a presumption. I'm presumed to lack the character and fitness to practice law
because you have a felony.
Because I have a felony.
So, when do you appear before the character and fitness committee? And there's a process, right?
It's on. Yeah, so there is a process. It's very convoluted. But April 26th, there's a second. One of the numerous committees along the way will make a decision on whether or not to give me a character and fitness hearing. I'm assuming they will.
So if you have a character and fitness hearing, you show up. Do you bring people with you? Do you bring letters of recommendation? Do you what do you do? Like how do you play this out?
So you have to basically the character and fitness part. It's something that almost no one ever talks about because very few people ever deal with it outside. The exam is a big thing, right? Everybody says it. But it's like a long application basically where you have to tell the bar everything about you, and then there's reference letters. And in the case of somebody who has a felony conviction, who thinks that they might have issues going through the process, you present lots of references. So I have like numerous, and it's one of the few nice things about going through this process is like I've gotten to some of these letters are getting sent to New York, so I get them too. And my friends and my colleagues, I get to read really nice things.
This is like when you get sentenced, you get folks who sort of
but now I have a lot more letters than the first time. Yeah, exactly. So these letters are in support of me going through the character and fitness process, and the hearing will be I'll have an attorney there representing me, and he's representing me now too with the process.
Sure.
With the bards. They're gonna ask me a series of questions. I'd rather wait for it in my case for it to go go through, but I think if we're talking about
let's get back to the conference on April 3rd.
Wait, before we get to the conference, let him finish his thought and then we'll go to that.
Yeah.
Just finish it to the
end. My
end.
thoughts never finish to the end. They always just go to the next one. No, so yeah, I would just say that like in general, the character and fitness process is especially for people that are justice impacted is not very navigable. Part of that is that we don't have many people that have gone through it yet.
Okay.
There's not that many precedents. A lot of times we're looking at one or two cases, and then some of it is that there's also there's a little bit of case law, but it's appellate, and then the main issue is that we don't. The main issue is that we don't have that right now. It's not that justice impacted isn't viewed as a group. It isn't viewed as a group it's certainly not viewed as a group that's valuable. It's the most underrepresented group. This is all going to tie back into the event.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So the point of this event is that right now, the justice field is not working at full capacity. I think we can all agree with that. Flawed. There's some issues, and part of the problem is that the people that are best qualified to help fix it are currently barred. The field does not understand the value of the justice impact experience, or at least they haven't. They're not open up to it yet.
Well, there's a saying that says the people closest to the problem are closest to the solution. Yeah,
there's a lot of sayings that say experience is a good thing. That knowing about a problem is a good thing.
I mean, do you think that the fear is that if we allow people who have come through if we allow people with these experiences to dictate how to move forward, that somehow or other it would not give us the success that we want? I mean, do you think about those kinds of things? Do you think about?
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily think that it's all. I'm not a big conspiracy. I tend to believe that people are good.
Okay.
But ignorant sometimes. And there's a lot of ignorance in the field with the justice impact experience, just because it hasn't been around. Like this event is going to be historic because putting 16 of us in a room is by far the largest gathering we've ever had. By far.
And there may be many more, actually. You don't really know yet, right?
Oh, I know.
Mm-hmm. No, but there may be even more people on that
that's
evening.
the thing. There might be more. There's definitely going to be some guest observers. There might be even more. Yeah, I have a couple people that I'm talking to that might be able to attend.
Mm-hmm.
If we're able to get some more funding, we can fly in even more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all in the works.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, it's a little bit sad that like that 16 makes the biggest, especially when you start looking at the numbers overall.
Yeah.
So like 8%. So like the normal like numbers that we go to is like there's 3 million people that are locked up at any given time, right? So that would be out of American population like 1%, they say, but it's about 8%, and actually it's much bigger than that because it's hard when you look at these statistics, like they don't necessarily include everyone. But let's go on the low end. 8% of Americans are justice impacted in that they're formally incarcerated, have a felony record, you know, and like again, it's higher than that. So there's 8%. So 8% of 300 of the American population is a number of millions. I'm not going to do the math; it's not lawyers' forte, but it's a lot. And right now we have 65 lawyers in a Facebook group.
Yeah.
And it's the Facebook group founder is coming. Chris Poulos. He's one of the guys that's coming.
Oh, Chris is coming?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Oh, good.
He worked at the White House under Obama.
And he's the director of reentry for Washington State now, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the point of this event, what do you want to see happen? What was your initial thinking, and how is it shaping up now? So
Jeff is aware too that this event and the way it's happened too, it's snowballed, and it's snowballing fast, and the momentum is growing. But the idea started formulating in my mind a long time ago. I mean, especially right after I got out of law school. I just thought, I was actually listening to a Dwayne Betts on YouTube, and he was talking about the experience, and he's incredibly eloquent, way better than me at speaking, writing, doing everything. He also dresses really well. And he would be the most handsome one you had on here if you ever. But he's incredible. Anyways, I got this idea when I was listening to him. I don't even remember exactly what he was saying, but I just started thinking. I was like, well, what if we just put all the talent? What if we just put if I could get like a lot of us in a room, like all the directly impacted people out there. This was just when I was figuring out that there were more than me, that there were a number of us, and there's a lot more than 65. The problem is also like a lot of us are in hiding for various reasons.
Sure.
And hopefully part of this event is to bring that awareness that you're not alone, because I know in my law school experience, and for anyone that happens to be listening to this, if you're justice impacted, if you're in school, just know that you're not alone, that there's others that have done it, that we're coming, that we're like, I view my journey to the law now as a duty. As a duty. I have to get through this because I need to help open the doorway for future generations.
So when is your event, and how do people contact you?
It's April 3rd. It's April 3rd. My contact information is
although you could follow us on our Instagram. You can find them.
That's the move. You're learning.
Wait.
It's social media.
It's at NYU Law School, 40 Washington Square South.
Yes.
At 7 o'clock on April 3rd.
But don't show up there unless you're invited. We have a very the event is actually a discussion. So it's a discussion format. We're gonna have all of this talent, all of this experience in the room, and it's a variety of different.
And so what do you want to come out of this?
So what I'd like to have come out of this is one that we're networking, that the ultimate goal in my opinion of my life will be to try and help bring this experience to the legal field, because I think it's one, I identify as justice impacted, and I believe in the experience. I believe in the value that it brings to the field. So I think it's the best impact I can make is to help grow a movement. And the goal of this event, one of the things we're going to be doing is, this is sort of like a launching pad for the forming of a national bar association for formerly impacted.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big that's a big idea.
Yeah, it's a big idea, and it's not my own though. Luckily,
Yeah. So what happens
it's
to
actually
you?
the game plan. It's always been the game plan for any underrepresented, underprivileged, discriminated against group within the legal field, because we're not the first ones.
Have you had a conversation with the Bar Association to make this a part of the National Association?
So in a way, the ABA president elect, Ms. Perry Martinez, and I look forward to speaking to her about this. She's already expressed an interest in the idea of justice impacted people. She's talked to, through my contacts at Prep, they've had conversations with her about one of the professors there that they work with. Like she literally just reached out to them while this event was being put together, and wanted to hear about the work that was being done, because Prep does a lot of great work. And they've been they have the first scholarship for formerly incarcerated. That's why I was introduced to them, and that's what they're working on. And Perry Martinez is already interested in that. So yes, the idea of affiliating with the bar sounds like it's probably going to happen. I'm going to make sure it happens at some point, and it just makes sense. This is long overdue. Yeah. If you look at history, every single group, and if you look at the groups that exist now, and this sort of ties back into what I was saying earlier with the numbers. Let's make the numbers actually matter. So the numbers matter. The fact that we have only 70 of us in a Facebook group, and that's the best we have right now, is just not okay. We need to have a bar association, because what do bar associations do? So there's one thing for just people that don't know, because I've actually had to figure this out relatively recently. So there's state bars, and then and those are mandatory. They deal with licensing. But then there's groups like the ABA, the biggest one. It's a voluntary bar association. So the National Justice Impact Bar Association would be a voluntary bar association. Yeah. And what do they do? They represent a certain group. So this would represent justice impacted people in very much the same way as the National Bar Association, which used to be called, which when it was formed was the Negro Bar Association. So that happened early on in the 20th century. It was at a time, it was formed a small, very similar to the meeting we're going to be having, a small group of black attorneys,
who could not
African-American
get
attorneys
in.
who couldn't get in, who were barred, actually by the ABA at the time too, got together and decided to form their own bar association that could represent them, advocate for change in the field, and help bring their underrepresented group into the field. So that's what that's what a bar association for justice impacted individuals would do.
That's a good idea.
But Dieter, this is really a paradigm shift, because for the most part, you have to believe, well, we know actually that most justice impacted attorneys, they're looking for kind of a normative experience where they assimilate into regular society or into the regular bar, and they don't want to really be known as someone who's been justice impacted. And that's not necessarily because they're hiding, it's just the way it's been. So this is a real change, because this is a badge, maybe a badge of honor that you're asking people to wear.
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing is I'm not entirely sure that there's that many that are looking to assimilate. Even the ones that are when I say hiding, it's because there's a significant stigma
Sure.
to it, and it's not. You ask anybody who's an ex-felon, your life gets harder. It's not easy to go to law school. It's not easy to go to college. It's not easy to do a lot of things. Now, you should go do all these things. That I encourage, and it's everything within me tells people that, because a lot of it is that you give up. You can give up because it's so difficult. And I've wanted to a number of times. The only thing that's carried me forward has been the fact that I have, this is my identity now, and that I have a people that I want to help. So I think that there's that the group in general is probably like everyone that's justice impacted, that's an attorney. Most of us do actually work in the field because of the experience, not just to assimilate. And the problem is there's just not that many of us because it's so difficult.
Sure.
Because there are so many barriers.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you, because I think, when you look at the African American experience, they weren't looking to assimilate either. They were just looking to have a fair shake. Just respect the fact that we too have garnered law experience and degrees.
We have something to add to the field.
And we want to add to the field. So I think you're absolutely right. So I think this population of folks have that same sense of, I want to be able to do the work that I want to do without hindrance.
And I mean, the thing is, going forward,
and without prejudice.
Exactly. And going forward, we're going to ally with with other bar associations. A lot of times you affiliate with other bar associations. So the racial justice is very much a part of the justice impact experience.
Sure. Yeah.
So I look forward to the days when the bar association, when we team up with the NBA, when we team up with the National Hispanic Foundation, Bar Association, to actually move the field forward and to work on these very shared problems of racial justice. So
Dieter, how do people get in touch with you? Generally, how do people learn more about this roundtable that's coming up?
So we're going to have it live streamed. Like I said, you can't just show up, unfortunately. We are going to have some guests that we're going to be able to invite through to observe, because the event is not a typical audience interaction event.
Yeah,
it's a roundtable discussion where the experts, you being one of them,
thank you,
of course, are going to talk about much of what we've started talking about here. We're going to continue this conversation about the importance of the justice impact experience, why it's identifying, why it's invaluable for this field, why we're going to discuss the barriers to entry. We're going to discuss all the problems that are associated with it, and we're going to discuss the solution. So this is going to be live streamed on YouTube, probably on Facebook as well. And then it will also be taped and posted afterwards. So I will be sharing that information with you. We're gonna go the whole canvassing, and if you're interested in this event, I encourage you to watch, and I encourage you to share about it. It's all coming together very, very fast. But the good thing is, right now we have the momentum on our side. We have the momentum on our side. The people that are coming are some of the most incredible lawyers in the field, and that's one of the things that I needed to do. A little bit of a shout out sesh to the people that are coming.
Well,
Tara Simmons is going to be here. She's going to be here on May 17th.
We have to go.
Oh, yeah.
No, we have to go.
Shout out to the whole group.
But Dieter, it has been a pleasure having you on today and talking to you and hearing about all these wonderful things in this event coming up in April. And your energy is infectious.
Yeah, and how?
And we wish you the best. And we hope you come back to follow up and let us know how you are doing.
So this is a great lead up to our next guest on April 5th.
Well, we have a former Connecticut governor, John Rowland. So he'll be on it. And so that'll be an interesting conversation, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And so thank you, Jeff.
Love you, Babz.
Love you.
Wonderful show.
Thank you, Lynn and Andrew, for supporting us. Thank you to the Community Foundation of Greater New Haven for happily supporting this show. Now more than ever. And we're on our way out. We will be back in another
3 weeks.
Yes.
Great.